Welcome to Module 5, Section 6, where I will cover the topic of technical analysis.
This is a type of discipline where you look at stocks or indexes, both of them, and evaluate what is happening in that index or that stock by looking for trading opportunities based on the current price and the trend of that price, whether it's going in an uptrend or a downtrend, different patterns that you see on a chart, and then implementing those patterns or those charts to help you make good decisions on when to get in and when to get out. What you do is you look at past trading activity, things that have already happened, and you take that past activity and different price changes, and then you can use those to calculate what are called indicators of future price movements. So based on what has happened before, we believe that we can predict what is going to happen in the future. Technical analysis assumes that all current prices for an index or a stock reflect all known information. Remember back at fundamental analysis when I said that there are certain things that you don't know? Well, technical analysis assumes that everything that we know about that stock that's publicly available, and maybe even some insider information, is already reflected in the price of that stock. So everybody sees the same price at the same time. We don't really concern ourselves as much with fundamental analysis because we're looking at the current price, believing that everything that is to be known about that company or index is known at that time. This also focuses on the statistical analysis of price movements. And as I said, there's all kinds of different ways that you can do this. There are different indicators or calculations that you can plot on different charts, and that can give you insight as to what's happening with that stock or with that index. Also, it makes an attempt to understand current market sentiment. Are people really positive about the market right now? Are people really negative about the market right now? We can look at that using technical analysis because we generally want to do the opposite. If a lot of people are going one way, we want to go in the opposite direction. It's not going to feel like the right thing to do, but quite often it is the right thing to do. And we also make an assumption with market sentiment that most people in the market don't really know what they're doing. And we want to be the educated ones. We want to make the good decisions. And so we often will go against the crowd. So stocks and indexes, you'll find over a period of time, looking at them on charts, they do have a random nature to them. There are sometimes when prices are just gyrating all over the place and they really don't make a lot of sense. There are other times when they are non-random, when we can pick out patterns or trends that are happening in the market. We can use this with technical analysis to determine, are we in a random environment? That's when we don't have a trend. And we can look at that and know what kind of an environment we're in and then make decisions based on that. There are some other assumptions that are made using technical analysis. This assumes that markets discount everything, whether it's news, whether it's an earnings report, whether it's a CEO leaving the company or a new CEO taking charge. All of that is immediately discounted into the market. Another assumption is that prices do move in trends much of the time. Now, some people think they move in trends all of the time. There's a big percentage of the time when the market does not trend. And then we also assume that history will often repeat itself. If a stock went up based on this kind of news in the past, we then assume that it will go up the same way in the future. These assumptions also can lead to self-fulfilling prophecies. We have millions of people at any given time looking at the same thing at the same time, and if something happens that makes them want to get in or get out, we're watching that as well. And we might use that as part of our decision-making process. How do we implement TA? Those who implement technical analysis use a thing called indicators that I've talked about before. These are calculations. A lot of these calculations are done based on the price, they're based on the volume, or they're based on price and volume together. The goal is to seek insight for determining the likelihood of future price movement. There are thousands of indicators out there that have been developed. Some of these are in books. Some of these are freely available on the internet. Some of them you might have a subscription to a certain website where you get these indicators. You may have developed your own indicators. Can you get some unique insight? Can you see what other market participants are not seeing to give you some kind of an edge on getting in or getting out of the market. Participants typically find and use their favorite indicators. There's an indicator called the MACD. Yeah, it's usually one of the first ones that you learn, and a lot of people love that indicator. There's another indicator, which is more of a momentum oscillator, called the RSI. A lot of people really like that. What you'll find is people that have been doing this for a while, they find their favorite indicators. I have my favorite indicators that I use, but I don't necessarily use them to make all of my decisions. You have some people that will use just one indicator. There's a whole system based around this. You might use a number of indicators together to confirm each other. What technical analysis enthusiasts focus on are price trends. You want to be in the trend. If the stock or the index is going up, you want to be long. If the stock or index is going down, you want to be short. You're also looking at different chart patterns, and there's a host of different chart patterns. Some of these chart patterns are very effective, and some of them are really only good in hindsight. Like we have a head and shoulders top or head and shoulders bottom. Yeah, that's been effective in the past, but as it's happening, we may not really realize that it's happening, or we might put our own subjectivity into what we see developing on the chart, and we might be wrong about that. There's a different kind of analysis that we use called Fibonacci and using Elliott waves. It's a great way to determine the overall pattern of a stock or an index. The only problem is, as that chart is being drawn, you have to be very subjective in what you think is happening at that time. All of these charts that I've looked at, they're great for telling you what already happened, but that doesn't really do us an awful lot of good. We need to know what's going to happen from here and into the future. We also look at volume and different momentum indicators. What is the current momentum? And you may hear me talk about that quite a bit. The trend is one thing. We might be in an uptrend, but have one or two down days, but the overall trend is up. What is the shorter term momentum of the market? We do have indicators that calculate more quickly, and they give us more insight as to what's happening on a shorter term basis, where other indicators that we use, such as moving averages, they may take a long time to turn directions. Then we also look at oscillators. And the easiest way to explain what an oscillator is, think of it like a fan that you turn on and it goes so far in one direction and stops, and then it goes all the way back over to the other direction and then stops. That's what an oscillator does. It has an upward range and a bottom range. And you are looking at these types of indicators. When they get too high, that means something is overbought. And we're generally anticipating some kind of a pullback at that point. If something goes too low, then we consider that to be oversold and we're looking at some kind of a bounce. The only problem with oscillators is they can be wrong, or they may be overbought or oversold for an extended period of time. So we're sitting here waiting for something to happen, but it might take longer than we feel comfortable waiting for that to actually play out, if it plays out that way. Because by the time that oscillator actually confirms it by showing us a calculation, the environment may have changed. And then moving averages. And that is probably one of the most common indicators. And it's one I use very heavily as well. We also use a thing called support and resistance levels. How high up can it go before it runs into resistance and it's going to come back down? How far low is something going to go before it finds support? And we have intraday levels that are calculated each day. And the cool thing about that is we know those levels before the market even opens. And you would be surprised to know how many times we get just to one of those levels and things either slow down and turn around and go the other way, or they meet a lot of support or resistance that takes a lot of volume to push them beyond that point. It's really an amazing thing to watch. What I've done in the program that I teach is a thing called the consensus approach. Because I'm asked all the time, what are your favorite indicators? You use technical analysis a lot. What do you really like to do? Well, my answer is my favorite indicator is all of them. Now, you're going to go kind of a little bit weird and say, wait a minute, you're looking at all these things? Yes. Every day I have about 300 charts just on the S&P 500 that I look at. And I look at all of those charts and I just dig out those charts that are actually telling us something. One day it might be the RSI. The next day it might be the MACD. Another time we might be in an oversold or an overbought condition. The trend based on moving averages might be something that we focus on. I look at all of these different indicators together And I call this the consensus approach. I don't use one or two or three indicators together. I'm using a whole library of indicators, and I'm developing new ones, and I'm testing out new ones all the time. And other ones that don't really seem to tell us anything, I throw those away. I reach a consensus as to what I believe will happen. And this is a skill that you have to develop over a length of time. And this is what the SPX investing program teaches. This is called the consensus approach. Sometimes I may refer to it as the consensus method. Multiple popular indicators are used in conjunction with each other to give a broader view and evaluation of just the S&P 500 index. That's what I focus on the most. For those of you that do invest in individual stocks, this can still really benefit you because you have that saying, a rising tide lifts all boats. If the market is going up, your stock has a tendency to go up as well. If the market is going down, your stock may have a tendency to get sucked down with everything else. Having a broader view of things can still really benefit you even if you trade individual stocks or companies. All of the different strategies that I teach are based on just the S&P 500. And I have a lot of reasons for that and a lot of things that I teach about this, but I'll get to that in a different video. Some of the flexibility of using technical analysis is this allows for different markets. I've been talking about indexes and stocks, but you might trade bonds, you might trade futures, you might trade Forex, you might trade all different kinds of things, gold, oil. Technical analysis can be applied to the different markets. If you want to branch out into other areas, technical analysis will give you that flexibility. Also different time frames. Now, I don't condone day trading. That's just not my thing, and I don't teach that in the program that I teach. But if you use daily charts to make decisions, I do use intraday charts and I follow things as things are happening. I just don't get into the market with the idea of getting out that same day. You might have charts that look at 10 minutes or 60 minutes or 1 day, weekly charts, monthly charts. You can use all of those together to reach a consensus about what you want to do. Another thing that TA allows you to do is make adjustments. You can change the different calculations that are used for these indicators. You can modify them. You can add your own. You can try different periods of time. And you can also experiment. Try something out and see if it works. It's one thing to back test something. It's another thing to forward test something. I do that every time. When I say I'm looking at new indicators, I'm usually in the process of forward testing them before I even talk about them. A lot of people find that using visual cues, looking at a chart, is very helpful. You can see things unfold. You can look at a picture of things, and that kicks in a different part of your brain, and some people think that that helps make better decisions. Some of the drawbacks are that technical analysis does have some disadvantages. Analysis paralysis. This is what I was talking about. There are thousands of indicators out there, and if you try to use all of them together without really understanding them, you're never going to be able to make any kind of a decision because you are paralyzed with overwhelming information, and a lot of times this is contradictory information. And so you may just get to the point where you're like, I can't do anything. This happens to a lot of people. I've had a lot of students over the years. They're very good at analyzing the market. They really want to do well. But when it comes down to crunch time and actually making a decision, they always freeze up or find a reason not to do something. That can be a real drawback because you have all this information that's coming into you and you just feel overwhelmed. Changing market climates. I alluded to this earlier. What works in one particular market climate may not work in another market environment. You'll see if you get a lot of emails like I do from the different people that teach this stuff, if something becomes the current fad, that's pretty much when it's over. For example, we went through a period of time back from about 2012 to up until the election in 2016, where the market spent a huge portion of the time not trending. We had an overall upward bias during that time, but it really wasn't convicted to go straight up or straight down. We had some bumps along the way and so forth. But we spent a lot of time really going sideways. And so this one type of strategy where you sell things into the market became very popular. Well, that's great as long as that current climate continues. But if things shift over a period of time, you're going to see some hefty losses if you use those approaches. Just like if the market's really going up or really going down, you'll see trend-based programs or strategies. That works great as long as the market is trending. But when conditions change, what worked in the past may not necessarily work right now. And then we have this never-ending search to find the perfect indicator. We think that it's out there. We think it might be an algorithm or some kind of an indicator, or we do all this studying and analysis, I know because I've been there, trying to find those things that really tell us something all of the time. It doesn't exist. There have been times when people have come close, but it really is not out there. If you want to go ahead and prove me wrong, please do that, because I've spent a large part of my 25 plus years of studying the markets trying to find that perfect indicator, and I haven't found it. So I've concluded that it really doesn't exist. And if you look way back in history, people have always thought they found the holy grail to the markets, only to have it work for a period of time, and then it will eventually break down. And there's some very smart people that have lost a lot of money because they committed to a certain approach only to have that approach disintegrate. And then there's inconsistency. It may work at some times, but it may not work during other times. And then subjectivity. This is one that really gets me. I go to a webinar or something and somebody's showing me their latest and greatest indicator package that they're trying to sell me. And then on top of that, then they start showing me their little nuances and their little tricks and their little ways that they do it. And I like to do this and I like to do that. And it's like, wait a minute, am I learning a skill for myself, or am I just becoming a clone of what you're doing? And that's what a lot of people out there teach. And I find that not to be very effective. You might get a book that has all these great answers, but can you adapt it to who you are? Can you adapt it to your personality? A lot of times that answer is no. Sometimes that answer might be yes. And if you've found that, let me know. I would like to know what you've been able to uncover. But this is what I've observed over the years. If you want to learn more about technical analysis, a really good place to start is the book written by John Murphy called Technical Analysis of the Financial Markets. It's been around a while now. There are updates that come out periodically. There's research that might be a little bit outdated, but if you want to learn the basics, this is a really good place to start. It's not a cheap book, but it might be a book that is well worth having in your library.
This concludes Module 5, Section 6, and I'll pick up with things again in Section 7.